Abdullah seems to have had it easy. Minister at 29, Chief Minister at 39, third generation politician, very articulate, not too bad looking either. That is, until one looks at the state he governs, one where there is, in his own words, no black and white, only grey, 100 shades of grey, and not all in his hair. Everything that could go wrong in a state has gone wrong in Kashmir. It has had a troubled accession, often cynical politicians, a deeply suspicious central government, even at the best of times, and a neighbor who uses every opportunity to create trouble. But then few politicians have also reinvented themselves as well as Omar, who lost the assembly elections in 2002, steeled himself, crisscrossed the state, and won power in 2008. All this and a Twitter persona that is followed, criticized, and more often than not, used to spark headlines. Like most of his state, he's young. He's had a tumultuous first term. He faces a tough re-election. Which way will his state vote in the assembly elections at the end of the year? The challenge is enormous. Many in his state have not seen the height of militancy. They've also not known of a period in which Kashmir was a Jannat. Here to tell us about what it's like to live and learn in real time, ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Minister of my home state, the state of Jammu and Kashmir, Omar Abdullah.
Thank you very much. I actually stole a glance at that table as I walked in to see whether the bell that triggered the dancing was still on the table. Because if that bell rang and I was expected to dance on the back of a wrong answer, I would have told all of you that you have the wrong member of the Abdullah family present in today's conclave. Because there is a whole lot I can do to make up for a wrong answer. But standing on stage and dancing is not one of them. I'm also acutely aware of the fact that compared to the previous session that I had the opportunity to sit through, this one is something that we've all discussed ad nauseum. We have been talking Kashmir for going on 20, 25 years now. And I dare say there's very little new that I can add to what isn't already in the public space or in the public domain, except to say that things are definitely looking better. I hope that there are some amongst you who have already had the opportunity to holiday in Kashmir over the last couple of years. I'm hoping that those of you who haven't will make your way this year there. It's a great boost of confidence for us. It's not that we've completely turned the corner. It's not as if Kashmir is without problems. Clearly, there are political, administrative, even security-related, but it's a damn sight better than it was. Now, in the brief that I was given for this session, the first point that was mentioned was, do you feel Kashmiri or do you feel Indian? And I thought that was a really strange, and that's actually the only point I'm going to touch upon, and the rest I'll leave to questions. I thought that was a really strange sort of brief to be given, because I asked myself that you've had a few more politicians on this podium yesterday, and I wonder if they were asked the same question as well. Was Akhilesh Yadav asked, are you a UPite or are you an Indian? Was Arvind Kejriwal asked, do you feel like a Delhiite or do you feel like an Indian? Why is it that when you come from Jammu and Kashmir, that is something that is asked of you? Do you feel Indian or do you feel Kashmiri? I feel both, and I feel both with an equal amount of passion. And I don't believe it is necessary for me to feel more of one or less of the other to be who I am. And I think it's important that we stop trying to ask people to prove their nationalistic credentials. I always wondered why my father did it. And at one stage when I really sort of, it started to bug me, I actually asked him, I said, why? Why do you feel the need to constantly sort of repeat this? And he said, well, it was advice given to him by one of his governors, the late Mr. B.K. Nehru, who said, Farooq, if you don't keep reminding people that you are Indian, people will very easily assume that you're not. I don't, fortunately, feel the need to do that. I'm quite happy for people to believe of me what they will. But it is a yardstick that we use all too often, which is a yardstick I believe we shouldn't, but be that as it may. If you don't mind, I think the first session made a lot more sense because it wasn't one-way traffic. It was an interactive one. And therefore, even though I've been given a good 20, 25 minutes to drone on, and no good politician leaves a mic unattended, I will actually surrender this podium and go and sit down with Kaveri and pick up that handheld mic and actually leave this as an interactive session rather than a 20-minute sort of talk that will perhaps not give you anything new and not make anything more interesting for you. Let's throw open the floor, let's take questions, and let's see where this discussion goes. I know the topic is Kashmir, but as I said, given that we've talked about it so much, I'll be quite happy to take questions on almost anything, and let's see what we can do. So with your permission, do you mind if I come back?
I think, Omar, we put that question there, I think, because of what happened in Meerut. And I think this is a question that comes up again and again with Kashmiris. Are you a Kashmiri or are you an Indian? And, 67 students being slapped with sedition is a question of their nationalistic credentials. So, how do you deal with something like that? We talk about winning hearts and minds, but things like this happen, and again, there's this sense of alienation and bitterness. It never goes away.
Well, definitely. I mean, the slapping of sedition charges against those kids was overkill. Yeah. While what they did was misguided, I would go as far as to say it was wrong. On the one hand, you're taking a scholarship from the Indian Prime Minister, and on the other hand, cheering on like this. But that having been said, what they did was not illegal. In a way, it's part of what makes this country great. I doubt whether something like that would be easily tolerated in our immediate neighborhood. But it's the way we value our right to free speech, and if their free speech involved cheering another team, so be it. I mean, when our people go to Pakistan and Pakistanis cheer the Indian team, we actually feel really great about it. So, I mean, I'd rather they didn't do that. I'd rather they not be confused about what their identity is. But even if they are, it's not cause for a sedition charge. The university has taken administrative action against them. I think it should be allowed to rest there. My worry is the BJP is now going to use this as an election issue. They've already complained to the Election Commission against the withdrawal of sedition charges. And to use these 67 kids as a pawn in what is turning out to be a pretty messy election will be extremely unfortunate. Yeah,
you talked about the election, and I think that's very important because there is a question that would you align with the BJP or an NDA government were Modi to be Prime Minister?
Absolutely not. The National Conference's relationship was more a relationship between the National Conference and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Atal Bihari Vajpayee as an individual was a person who brought people together. And we found it extremely easy to work with him. And I think our decision was vindicated by some of the steps that he took vis-a-vis Jammu and Kashmir, the way he reached out to Pakistan, the way he sought to mend relations with them, the sort of initiatives he took within the state, all sort of bore out our decision to align with him. That having been said, we don't see anybody in the BJP today who comes even close to what he was. And therefore, the question of the National Conference aligning with the NDA it simply doesn't arise.
Are you fearful that if a BJP government comes to power, whoever the Prime Minister is, they will rescind Article 370?
They can't touch Article 370. Without the consent of the state, they can't touch it. This is a convenient sort of tool that they use every time an election comes up. And then shy away from a discussion. I mean, the great thing is that the BJP's prime ministerial candidate came to Jammu, said that they want to debate Article 370, and no sooner had I shot back a reply saying, fine, I'm ready, name the time and the place and I'll be there, Pat came the answer from the other side that, well, he's too busy and anyway you aren't important enough. So if that be the case, then that shows how seriously they want to discuss the issue.
You talked about it being a messy election. We know it's going to get even uglier. Rahul Gandhi is a friend of yours, from what we gather, although we don't know so much about Rahul Gandhi. But have you ever given him advice, considering you're about the same age?
I mean, it would be impossible not to talk politics. Yeah. Of course we do. But would I consider myself amongst his circle of advisors? No.
But if you were to give him advice, what would it be?
I definitely would not do it through a public forum like this. I'd find a slightly more private way of doing it.
You know, often we think what you did.
Let me. I just add one part to it, which perhaps is
you're
public
being
advice.
Extraordinarily diplomatic.
All I would tell him is not to sort of back off after one interview with one channel.
Yes, well done.
My advice to him, at least from what I can, I mean, I have no hesitation in sharing this, is that, I mean, he's done one with one channel. It'd be helpful to go out and do a few more, and it's good for him, and it'll be good for all of us.
You know, let's go back a little to Kashmir. And as I said, we talk about winning hearts and minds. But do you think India's relationship with Pakistan is so centered around Kashmir? And after 26/11, do you feel that we have gone to a place where we cannot come back from?
I don't think India's relationship with Pakistan is centered around Kashmir. Pakistan's relationship with India certainly is. I mean, they have a unifocal sort of dimension to the relationship between Pakistan and India. And for them, Kashmir is everything, and everything else is secondary. It's not the same for us. While we believe that Jammu and Kashmir is an important issue and it needs to be resolved, it's not the only issue that dogs our relationship. There are a whole host of other issues that need to be resolved. But clearly, coming as I do from Jammu and Kashmir, I believe it does require attention, and sometimes it doesn't receive the amount of attention that it should get.
You have a very tough election in the state ahead of you as well at the end of this year. What is it that you would like to do if you would be re-elected? What is it that you've not done, you've not been able to do? More jobs to young people, more entrepreneurship, helping getting Kashmiri Pandits back, please?
We've certainly done a bit on the job development side. We'd like to do more. Obviously, with tourism returning to the valley, that makes job creation a little bit easier. We'd like to see investment flow into the valley. We've seen some investment, but it's largely been focused in a single belt along the national highway in Jammu. The return of the Kashmiri Pandits is an important part of what happens. I think if we get a reasonably peaceful parliament and assembly election, it'll be one step closer to bringing Kashmiri Pandits back. We're obviously going to need the central government assistance on that, because there is a package that's been worked out to assist them in coming back, a financial package, which the center has to help us with. And very importantly, I'd like to see more progress made in terms of removing some of the more draconian aspects of the laws that are applicable to Jammu and Kashmir.
Of course, AFSPA. How do we deal with that?
Well, I think AFSPA has to be dealt with in two different sort of areas. So long as you are using the army for internal security duty, they need legal cover to operate. I think we need to distinguish between legal cover and impunity. The sort of cover that they get right now means that they can pretty much do what they please without fear of consequences. Right. I think that fear of consequences has to be built back into the system. The legal cover to operate still needs to be given to them. I'm not for taking that away. And obviously, as the situation improves, and we hope that, even though there has been sort of effort made to scare us or worry us, that the American withdrawal from Afghanistan will have adverse consequences for Jammu and Kashmir, I don't buy that argument as yet. And the reason, I'll tell you why. The reason I don't buy that argument is because so far we have been taking the credit for everything that has happened in Jammu and Kashmir. We've said that the improvement in the situation is because of steps that we have taken. if we're now going to blame the Americans for a deterioration in the situation, it means the improvement was a consequence of their actions as well, which I refuse to accept. And therefore, whether the Americans withdraw from Afghanistan or not, I believe will have very limited consequences for Jammu and Kashmir. So if we have a good year on the anti-terrorism front, I have no doubt we'll be that much closer to withdrawing some of these rules.
It's been interesting to watch you grow into the Chief Minister's role these 5 years. It's been a personal discovery for you as well. You have become more confident and I think more at ease with Kashmir, Kashmiris and yourself. Would you like to talk about your own personal journey?
Well, it has been, I mean, every day of this job one learns. The biggest lesson that I've learned is that no problem is too small to grow into a big problem. Yes. At the beginning of my term, I tended to be a little I won't use the word blasé, but a little sort of dismissive of some of the smaller problems. And I soon learned that those small problems could accumulate into one massive problem that then consumes you in trying to deal with it. Such as the summer of 2010.
Exactly.
That has been, for me, the worst period of my life. I wouldn't even say of my career. The summer of 2010 pretty much consumed me in every way possible. And that taught me some very valuable lessons.
It also transformed you, didn't it?
Well, it did. It did. It changed me in more ways than one.
You want to talk a little about it? Because I think, you know, seeing those little children throwing stones and, you know, your people also getting injured and hurt and killed, it's a terrible thing, isn't it?
It is, and it's still not a period of time that I've gotten over, and I don't think I ever will. It's not easy to go through a time like that where you're overseeing an administration that has to deal with protests on that scale. And there really was no easy way out of that situation. But fortunately, over time, better sense prevailed, and we've had a few good years after that.
What is the one thing that helped you through that time?
Gosh, I don't know.
Meditation?
No,
prayer,
I wish I had.
Rock music?
No, I don't know. I really don't know what helped me through it. I think I I can't put my finger on any one thing and say that's what helped me through. I had good people around me. I had my dad. I fell back on quite a few times. There were once or twice when I almost completely fell apart, and I picked up the phone and spoke to him, and he flew down to Srinagar and was a great source of strength during that difficult time. But I just really wanted to see that through. I wanted to put the state back on its rails and get things back to normal. And that was really the only thing that was pushing me.
So your relationship with your father has also changed over the years, hasn't it?
Well, I've always had a good relationship with my father, regardless of what the media has tried to say. Look, we are two individuals. We're different people.
We're totally different.
We are totally different. I mean, as I said, my dad would quite happily stand up and do a few steps if you rang the bell. I won't do it. I mean, that's not who I am.
You won't sing.
Okay, I won't sing. I don't do shairi. The one or two times I've tried.
You don't go on motorbike rides. Shabana asked me.
Well, I ride motorcycles, but I particularly made sure I got a motorcycle with only one seat on it, so that the possibility of taking anybody on it was excluded right from the beginning. So no, there are some things that we have in common, but we are two different individuals, and I have a good relationship with him. That's as it should be. I mean, he's not my best friend, and I'm not one of those who believes that parents and children should...
Really?
I don't.
But you have two big boys.
I do,
16 and 14.
And I mean, I'm not their best friend, and that's the way it is.
Okay. So you're a very strict father.
No, I'm not.
You don't see them so much, though.
I see them as much as I can. It's not easy. Focused as I am in the state, they're studying here, so it doesn't make for an easy sort of thing.
When you listen to young Kashmiris talking, what is the one thing that you want to do for them? You want to reach out, do something, you know, and you feel hemmed in.
I want to take away the uncertainty in their lives. The fact is that they have been brought up on a diet of uncertainty. Uncertainty about the future of Kashmir, uncertainty about their own future, their own physical future, forget about their economic future. I mean, 20, 25 years we've lived through a time where you leave the house in the morning, you're not sure if you're going to come back alive in the evening.
They have not seen a period when it was any different, unlike their parents who know of a time when things were so wonderful.
Which is why I'm glad that they're gradually beginning to see the sort of times that they're beginning to see now, which again, we're not normal, but we're a lot closer to normal than we have been in the last 20, 25 years. So yes, if one can remove that uncertainty from the youngsters, that would be, I think, the biggest contribution one could make.
But isn't the first step really getting the Kashmiri Hindus back? Because that whole sentiment of syncretism of Kashmiri Hindus and Muslims living together, that was so integral to Kashmir.
I think that's an important part of getting them back. And that is why we're doing what we have done so far. We've brought almost 2,000, which is a very small relative number, but it is an important first step. They're now working in the valley, they're working in various departments, they're teachers, they're engineers, they're government servants, and I think that's an important part of bringing the two communities back together again.
Okay, so I think we'll have some questions from the audience. Yes, Anjana?
I know the buzzer's not there, so we don't expect you to get into a promptu jig, but and you can't even let your hair down. But
I don't have much hair to let down. I wish I did.
But what does Omar Abdullah do in his time of peace? I'm sure you have your moments in the valleys. What do you do? How do you enjoy yourself? Something that you would like to share with us, or some of your light moments with your children?
Well, if it's winter and I can get a weekend away, I go up to Gulmarg to ski. I absolutely love the freedom that I get. The good thing is none of my security people know how to ski. Yeah, so it's a great way. I mean, one or two of them have actually gone and tried to learn because they hate the fact that they can't see me when I'm on my skis. But I absolutely love the freedom that skiing affords me. I read, I watch a lot of American TV shows. iTunes is a great...
Favorite, sorry. What's your
My
favorite
well, I don't have a favorite at the moment. I'm watching about 3 or 4 at the same time. I watch The Good Wife, I watch Grey's Anatomy, I watch Suits. There are a whole lot of TV shows that I enjoy. I was watching Homeland. So there's a fair amount
House of Cards.
I did watch House of Cards, but I actually watched the original UK version of House of Cards, which was so much better than the American version.
Okay, just a little more, a bit
yeah,
more.
Sorry.
Because with that beautiful, perfect, handsome face of yours, if you were supposed to sell Kashmir to the people of this country and abroad, it's supposed to be a romantic place, right? So how would you inspire people or couples to come there in a nice, but a lovely smile that you have? How would you convince people?
Well, I mean, what's the best I can do? I can be seen in a shikara trying to serenade somebody on the Dal Lake as the sun sets in the background, hanging on to a nice, hot, steaming mug of coffee. I mean, that's probably the best that I could do.
I
can't do any more than that.
Hanging on to a hot woman.
No, that's, again, you've got the wrong, the wrong person.
Malvinder, you wanted to ask a question? Oh, sorry,
Raj. Hi, my name is Raj Singh. I am a British Asian, and one of the interesting things has been when there's cricket matches, particularly being played between England and India. And one of the phenomena, particularly in the UK, is a large support for India from the British Asians as well. And this always raises up some controversies there in terms of why they're supporting England or why they're supporting India instead of England. And when it gets down to it, it's like there's still a deeper-rooted connect still to India. Now, in the India-Pakistan context, with some of the issues that have been coming up recently with Kashmiri Indians also supporting, or seem to be supporting Pakistan, is there any parallels here, or what are the insights? Is there anything that, is there anything further?
I guess there are parallels, because who was it? Was it Norman Tebbit who set the test for you, saying that your sort of loyalty would be determined by who you cheer in a cricket match between India and England? I guess the same is applied to these Kashmiri youngsters as well. Whether it can be reduced to such simple terms or not, I don't know. I think it's a far more complex situation than just who you cheer for in a cricket match. And I mean, come on, we applaud the Pakistanis for cheering the Indians on when we go there and play. So I really don't think it can be sort of pigeonholed in the manner that we're trying to do it. I think again it stems more from the fact that we hold people from Kashmir to a higher standard than we do other parts of the country. The same thing if youngsters in any other part of the country were cheering Pakistan in a match, we wouldn't have noticed it. But the fact that these were youngsters from Kashmir automatically changed the context in which we saw it.
Yeah, Manan.
Hi, Omar. Would you want your children to join politics?
No, I honestly wouldn't, and I'm hoping that I'm long retired from politics before they're of age where they might join. If they choose to join politics, then I hope it's not when I'm an active politician where it would appear as if this was my decision to promote them. If they do come and they work their way up from the bottom, great. I wouldn't like them to come in the way I did, because it just continues this sort of belief that you have to belong to a particular family to get a start into politics. So far, neither of them have expressed an interest, but if they do, I certainly would hope that it's not at a time when I'm an active politician, and therefore whatever they do is independent of the decisions that I have made. I'd like to see them do anything else but join politics.
Maruf?
Hi, Mr. Abdullah.
Hi, Maruk, how are you?
I'm good. My question to you is that you've done a lot to kind of bring down the alienation that perhaps a lot of Kashmiris might feel in the rest of the country. But the criticism against you has been that the youth of Kashmir feel alienated from you. Do you, A, agree with that criticism, and B, going into elections, do you feel that you're going to try and perhaps change that perception?
I'm not sure if I can change a perception that has been allowed to sort of to be created over a 5-year period in a few months before the elections. And anything I do would appear to be tokenism. Therefore, if there is any correction to be made, it will have to be made over a longer period of time. I'd like to believe that if there is a disconnect, it's more an urban phenomena, and it doesn't translate into the youth of rural Kashmir. But that really will only be known once we hit the election trail and the results start manifesting itself. There is no doubt that there is a disconnect. As much as I'd like to believe that I can reach out to all youngsters in Kashmir, that's not true. And obviously a certain amount of introspection will be necessary to see whether it is a character flaw on my part, and if it is, then what I can do to address it.
And just one more question. You have faced the compulsions of a coalition government. And going into the next election, given a chance, would you always want to go it alone rather than look at the possibility? Would you rather sit in the opposition than be in a coalition once again?
Well, obviously, I mean, nobody would like a coalition. I mean, if you had Dr. Manmohan Singh here today and asked him, look, if you got the 10 years that you had, but as a single-party government, would you be happier than as a leader of a coalition? Clearly, he'd want his own government. And the same is true for us. We didn't fight an election to come into a coalition. A coalition was necessary because of the fractured mandate that we got. Clearly, going ahead, if I had to head a government in the state, I'd like to head a government that was made up only of my party. But that is a decision the electorate gets to make. I don't get to make that decision. And based on what they decide, we'll see what we have to do.
One last question. Kunal?
So this is Kunal Pradhan from India Today. I wanted to ask you, what is your reading of the general election? Do you buy into the fact that there's a Modi wave in the country? Do you buy into the fact that the Congress is on its way out? Or do you think there's a possibility of a third front coming to power?
Well, I think we tend to overuse the term wave. While there is no doubt that there is an effect that Mr. Modi has had on the electoral process, and I see it on the ground in Jammu as well. I mean, the kind of public meeting that he had there, the areas from which people flocked in to see his meeting, it was more than we had expected. That having been said, it's not a wave. A wave was what you saw Rajiv Gandhi get after the tragic assassination of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. That is a wave. And that's certainly not what Mr. Narendra Modi is going to get in this parliament elections. So while there is a sort of fresh enthusiasm amongst his cadre, that is translating into more sort of visible election activity on the part of the BJP. They will probably benefit from that. I wouldn't use the word wave to describe what is happening. And what the final result is going to be like, I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't. It's not looking very good for us in the UPA at the moment, but we still have a month and a half or so to turn things around, so let's see what we can do.
Jairam, you have a response to that? Thank you so very much. I think we had a fantastic session. Omar was so frank and delightful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. May I please request at this point of time Mr. Ashish Bagga, Group CEO, India Today Group, to come up on stage and present a small token of our appreciation to Mr. Abdullah. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, do put your hands together for what was a riveting session. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you.